to the WorkJoy Jam podcast. I'm your host, Beth Stallwood. Today I'm joined by content creator Sam Warburton, who has created a freelance business doing sketchnoting, which I think is this incredible way of really summarising complicated long form information in that snapshot that's really accessible to loads of people. And I personally really love it as a way of understanding what's going on. And I think it's a really interesting creative process. And in this conversation, we talk about her 5 W's process for making this happen, and really helped me to understand where I struggle sometimes with the creative process. And I think it's a great way of thinking about helping yourself with your personal development, potentially helping other people, and to really consider how having things that you are interested in, doing things creatively, can be a fantastic thing for your personal development, but also a fantastic thing that supports you in your growth as a person who works in an organization. And Sam has a wonderful balance between both her employed traditional role and her freelance that have got this wonderful relationship of support to each other. I really hope you enjoy this conversation. Welcome to the WorkJoy Jam, and today I am joined by the wonderful Sam Warburton, and I'm so excited to have this conversation because I think we're going to get into things like creativity and stuff that gets me all excited about things. But rather than me introduce Sam, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, Sam. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Great. So I'm an illustrator, author and content creator, but I have a specialism in sketch notes. So I'm a content creator at Adesi Consulting, but I also have my own freelance business as a sketch note artist.
So you're someone who's rocking a double career.
Yes. Yeah. I'm loving it.
Tell us a little bit about your career journey and how you ended up at the place where you're a creative in a content creative type career in your traditional employment. Should we call it that? The traditional employed model, and how on the side of that, you've also got your freelance business. Can you give us a bit of your career story?
Yeah. So it's quite a squiggly career.
Excellent. We love those.
So I graduated from Loughborough University and immediately went into a graduate internship at Oxford University Press. I went into the editorial department and I found pretty quickly it wasn't quite for me. I wanted a bit more variety in my job role. And I also found that I really enjoyed working for smaller companies where I could make a bit more of an impact. So I went into a few different marketing type roles, and then I had quite a difficult time at an old company, and I found myself sort of reevaluating what I wanted. And this was just before the pandemic, and I found that I wanted to work from home. I wanted more creative opportunities, and that's kind of how I found Adesi Consulting. So they were a virtual company before the pandemic, and I just found I really clicked there. I got lots of creative freedom, and they actually pushed me to do my own sort of professional development and pursue my own passions. So they actually really encouraged me to do my own freelance business as well. And they've been really supportive of that. So that's sort of how the sketch notes freelance business came about.
That's amazing. And it's really interesting, isn't it? Because sometimes I always think that, the jobs that we go into, we either find the love for them or we don't. And if we're not, they lead us, if we take the kind of negativity away from it and go, this isn't right for me, but use that as a way of exploring where we are meant to be, we can often find places that are better than we ever expected.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for every kind of role I've had has kind of led me to where I want to be and where I am now. So it's kind of reframing those challenging situations as opportunities, like you say.
Something to kind of learn about what you don't want as well as what you do want. And then
it's this kind of going into what seems like a really leading edge way of working, because pre-pandemic not many people were completely virtual working, so that's a really interesting one. And also to really actively advocate for you to set up your, what for some people might be called a side hustle, but your freelance business on the side, and to really encourage you to do that is a really interesting way of an organization actually probably getting more out of you rather than limiting that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think from doing my own freelance business as well as working at Adesi, I feel like I've actually gained a lot more skills that I wouldn't have otherwise. So things like
Mm.
selling, invoicing. I mean, that they're a nightmare to do, but I would have never done those otherwise.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely given me the confidence as well, because I'm out there promoting myself, I guess, my own services, and then it kind of, I kind of appreciate Adesi that they're giving me the opportunity to do that. I feel like I'm valued enough and trusted enough, I guess,
Mm.
to go out there and explore my own passions, as well as, you know, coming back to my day job as well. And I love
Yeah.
both of them. Um, yeah, I'm really enjoying both my full time role and my side hustle. It never feels like a chore.
Yeah. And that's a really interesting point as well, isn't it? Is that if you really like both of them, you don't actually have to pick, and it doesn't feel like a chore, but you get different things from the different roles that you perform.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think I get a lot of variety at Adesi, which I probably wouldn't get in my own side hustle, side business, because I'm specialist in one thing. That's partly due to time as well as opportunity. But yeah, I'm really enjoying both of them.
And what is it about the sketchnoting, so the kind of side hustle, how did you start with this? Because I feel like it's one of those things that's become quite popular, but then also not a lot of people know about it. So can you first of all for us explain what a sketchnote is, because that would be a really good place to start, so that people who are listening go, okay, what is that thing that you do?
Yeah. So a sketchnote is a visual summary that usually condenses a lot of information or a big idea into a single, easy to engage with image. So I sketchnote a lot of books, podcasts, webinars, videos, anything that's kind of long and time consuming to kind of get through. You can experience it in a single image, and that's particularly interesting for kind of promoting ideas on social media, where it's
Mm,
really fast paced. People kind of only scroll through a feed for a couple of seconds and take that couple of seconds to decide whether they want to carry on reading something or not. I find that visual is usually quite engaging and captures people's attention quickly.
mm.
So that's why I find they're quite effective.
Yeah. I really love looking at them, because what they do for me when I look at a sketch note is they say to me, is this something I want to dive in deeper to? Is it something that I'm excited about and I like the concept? So now I know the concept of it, I can head into it in a bit. I can give up that time or make that investment in what it is that you're promoting through the sketch note. So as a what would it be, as a reader, as a
Yeah.
participant of a sketch note, I think it does have that great ability to take a snapshot of what's going on in something that's more long form, to be able to use it on short form. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's about making that decision whether to invest your time or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested in, how did you get into it in the first place? Like doing this sketchnoting thing, because it's not necessarily one of those things where you go, oh, do you know what? I'm going to go and learn how to do a sketch note. But I imagine it came to you somehow. I'd love to get into that and how you started in this world.
Yeah, it was a bit of an accident really. It started from my own sort of professional development. I was
Mm,
reading a lot of books, listening to a lot of podcasts, and investing quite a lot of time in my own sort of learning and continuous improvement. And I came across some sketchnote artists doing kind of visual recording at events. I
Yeah.
thought, oh, that's really cool. Yeah, it would help me kind of do something a bit more with my professional development, because when you're learning and taking new ideas, no one really sees that. But it was something that I could create for myself and then share on social media as well.
Mm,
And hopefully it would kind of help others to do their own professional development. And it kind of grew from there.
I love that.
And
I love how careers and businesses and everything can come out of like an accidental moment, and you're there and
yeah,
you're just going, oh, well, let's give this a try. And I also, as you know, I'm a big believer in investing in our own personal development, because it's something that can really help us in so many different parts of our life. It can be really joyful. It can be some of the stuff that helps us with our careers. So from taking that action for yourself, you've actually created something bigger than you thought it was going to be.
yeah, it really took me by surprise, actually. It was from putting out a social media post with my sketch note that I actually landed my first freelance job. Um,
Ah,
so I was contacted by a lady called Carly Hearn from Lincoln West, and she invited me to do some sketch notes at the National Sales Conference. And it kind of just grew from there. I have grew in confidence in my own ability, and that there was actually demand for sketch notes. I thought,
yeah.
people actually wanted them. So yeah, it just kind of snowballed from there.
I love that. Just, you know, an accidental side hustle has been created. And tell me a little bit, because your sketch notes are beautiful. I love them.
Thank you.
And you will be able to see the sketch note from this podcast as well. So you'll be able to kind of see what we're talking about when this comes out into the big wide world, listeners there. Were you good at artistic things before you started sketchnoting?
I think from my day job, I was. It sort of grew out of necessity. So when I was a kid, I wanted to be an illustrator and an author, and
Yeah.
that's what I thought I would always do. But obviously, it's very competitive. So I sort of went into marketing-y type roles. And when I joined Edessy, like I said, I got that opportunity to be creative and have a bit more freedom. So I
Mm.
actually developed my own illustration style through Edessy's rebrands. So
Ah.
a lot of my illustrations feature across the brands of Edessy. That was one of the kind of unique, personable features that I wanted to include. But I felt the pressure very quickly to get good at it, so I practiced a lot. Because I've actually been paid now to do that. So it kind of, yeah, forced me to improve. But yeah, I've always loved drawing. I don't think you have to be good at it necessarily to do sketch notes, because they use words as well as images. You can get
Mm.
your message across even if you're a bit naff at drawing. And it's like with anything, the more you do, the better you get.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because I would never count myself as a good drawer, but I have spent many years at a flip chart doing dodgy drawings to on my flip charts, and I have tried to do the kind of sketch notey thing for things like the podcast, but the thing I can't do, or the thing I really struggle with, is I don't really mind that the drawings aren't brilliant, because I think they tell a story anyway. You know, a dodgy drawing is
Yeah.
somehow it's still your style, isn't it? It's still who you are, and you're putting it out there. The challenge I have, and I'm going to hope you talk us through this process a little bit, how you do it, is I don't end up with one nice, beautiful page of condensed notes. I end up with 23 pages of notes with dodgy drawings that have no ability to condense any of the information down. And I think for me, the skill is the illustration obviously is beautiful when you do it like you do it. When I do it, it's slightly dodgy, but slightly dodgy, I still think is cool. So I would be fascinated to know, Sam, about how you take this from being all of that information, a whole podcast, a whole book, a whole keynote speech at a conference, and really get it to be that so engaging, interesting one page of the most condensed, lovely information. What's the creative process that you go through?
Yeah, so I go through a process that I've kind of made up myself called the 5 Ws. So
Oh, tell us.
so that's why, words, works of art, wrangle your ideas together, and then whittle down. I'll just go through each one. So why is the purpose of your sketch note? What are you trying to get out of it? Are you trying to get across your ideas? Maybe you've developed a concept that you want to share, or are you trying to promote something? What do you want your audience to kind of take away? And then number two, words. I kind of think in text first and then images second. So getting down the key ideas that you want to get across through the sketch note, that's what I'd start with first. And then works of art is your third step. So illustrating the words that you've got down. That can give a new perspective on ideas, and it can also just fill up the page and make it more engaging for your audience. And then wrangling your ideas together, that is a W. So that's how your overall page looks. So it's kind of the feel of the sketch note. So if I'm doing a book, I'll use the author's kind of brand colours, a picture of the cover, and kind of the overall theme and feel of the book. So that's where you kind of wrangle it all together and make it the page, essentially.
Yeah.
And then once you've got that, the very final step is whittle it down. So make it as simple as you possibly can. And the best way that I do that is kind of walking away from it and then coming back with a fresh perspective. What would someone who's coming to your sketch note cold think? Would they be able to understand the key ideas that you're trying to get across? And yeah, that's my sort of process for creating sketch notes that are actually engaging for people to take
I love
away.
it. And I love the 5 Ws because I love things that are easy to remember. So why, words, works for art, wrangle and whittle. I love them. But I also love the wrangle and whittle particularly because that's the skill, isn't it? The bit of being able to not have every bit of information, but to have the key points and being able to really look at it on a page and take it in and understand it all from what you're saying. So I think those two are the bits that I don't do at all. Like I don't even think about them. So I'd love to take them and really consider those two angles. But I'm also really fascinated because I've always in my head thought that it would start with the illustration. So you start with the because the pictures are what really stands out when you see them, and then you go to the words. But it's interesting that you do the words first. Tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah, so like I said before, it kind of came from my professional development and learning. I think what's important about the words are that's kind of where the ideas kind of start and build. I think the illustrations kind of give a fresh new perspective on it. I think we're all sort of drawn to images and visuals naturally as humans. That's kind of what our brain tells us to do. We process images a lot quicker than text. So I think the kind of core of it is in the words, but the engagement and the hook is in the illustrations.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can see it from all the angles, but actually starting with the words and then being able to use the illustrations to draw you in or to help you understand or to, as you say, give a different perspective on those words. It's a it is a proper creative process, isn't it? Really thinking about these things, and I think as well, it's giving it that space to breathe. And I actually think about this about a lot of work that I do, a lot of work that anybody does actually, is sometimes the best thing you can do is leave it alone for a little bit and
Yeah.
allow it to have a bit of a space that you then come back to with, maybe a bit more of a fresh perspective, whether it's, that email you're going to write, which may not have the best professional filter on because you're feeling a bit grumpy at the time you're writing it, or a conversation that needs to be had, but you need to think about how to approach it. It's the same thing here, isn't it? It's giving it some space and coming back to it and reviewing it with fresh eyes.
Yeah, definitely. I think when you're in a creative rut as well, sometimes you need that space to kind of process it in your head and away from your desk. Yeah, definitely.
I love that. And tell me personally, so for me, I told you that the wrangling and the whittling is the bit that I find the hardest. Is there a bit of that process that you find the most challenging?
Honestly, I always find the hardest bit is before you start, just thinking you've got to do it. So when you get a creative brief and you don't know where you're going to go with it, it's that period before you actually start doing the work that the fear kind of creeps in. Oh my God, what am I going to do? But the minute kind of pencil goes to paper, I kind of ease into it. It gets easier as you get into the creative flow. And it's just that kind of first draft, you just kind of have to spill it all out and then work on it to make it good afterwards.
So almost that first bit is just allow yourself to kind of write down whatever comes to mind, or just really get it out there. And then, and maybe, is it a case of not judging what you put down to start with, and because you're going to deal with that in the next bit of the process?
Yeah, for me, the beauty is it's not recorded live usually, for books and podcasts. I know if you're sketchnoting at an event, on a big board, it is live, and it's a lot more pressure. But with this, you don't have to be perfect first time because you can redraft it. And usually when I'm working with clients as well, there's always that feedback loop, where I'm making changes and tweaks. So it's not being precious over it, I guess, that it's got that room to kind of improve and be the best it can be. But it's also okay just to kind of share rough work as well. I find that people do appreciate that authenticity and kind of not being scared to share things.
Yeah, and it's so interesting when it comes to things like drawing, illustrating, sketchnoting, whichever version of things is. I think there's a lot of people in the world, and I'd count myself as one of these, who always thought they weren't very good at art and therefore can't do this stuff.
Mm.
And I've been trying to rewrite that particular story about me, is that I'm not going to be an artist, but there's some stuff that I can do that is artistic, or that does things in a different way that actually help me and help people I work with. So I think there's something there about kind of getting over our need for it to be perfect, which is a really interesting one, that it doesn't have to be. And a lot of people do sketchnoting just for themselves, don't they? Not in terms of a promotional thing. It's just for their own learning and their own ability, which is where you started.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's also quite a good mindfulness exercise. So a lot of people do sort of free writing and journaling. I think sketchnoting is also a good way to kind of clarify your own thoughts and work through your own sort of ideas and feelings at a time. It does give that alternative perspective that sometimes you just can't say in words. And I think the actual act of drawing, it forces you to kind of slow down and kind of think about what you're doing. But yeah, I find it quite therapeutic. I know if you don't like drawing, it's sometimes hard, but maybe the pressure of not sharing it makes it a bit easier.
Yeah,
But
and I have tried it for things like journaling or kind of more exploratory writing type stuff, and I really like it when I draw a little picture, even if it's just something tiny, or it's something to highlight something, or to make you look at something again. So I think there is some real benefit to that. And you're right, it doesn't have to be stressful, it doesn't have to be perfect. If it's just for you, why not just give it a go, give it a try? And you never know where it might take you. Not everybody wants to be a freelance sketchnote artist in their in their spare time, but the act of doing it, of being creative, of working through a process, and as you say, of maybe taking a little bit more time about some of that thinking stuff that we all need to do, and taking the pressure off, could be really beneficial.
yeah, definitely. I think it's just about doing the work and enjoying the process. It doesn't really matter about the output if you can kind of focus on, I guess, being present for the work you're doing. You'll enjoy it more, and that's where the joy comes. I think improving your creativity every day and just trying new things, I think that ultimately leads to kind of your well-being, productivity and success, because you just don't know where things are going to take you. And if you kind of limit your own abilities, you're not going to experience new opportunities for progression, I guess. Definitely. At the end of the day.
And I think for me, I personally am I need to do active mindfulness. So the things like sitting and meditating are not where my brain is best mindful. In fact, that's probably where I get the most anxious, is if you tell me not to do anything or to just sit there. It's like the opposite of calming for me. So I like to do creative things, or something that really makes you focus on the one thing you're at. And so whenever I'm talking to people, I make notes, not actually because I refer back to them, but the act of note making makes me more engaged in the process and more engaged in the conversation. And I think there's something there about, actually, if you are sketchnoting something, you're really taking on board what you're listening to, what you're watching, what you're reading, whatever it is you're doing. You're fully immersed in it, because you can't really do that and check your phone or scroll through social media at the same time. It's a really all-encompassing process.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you're simplifying anything, like you do in a sketch note, you have to fully concentrate and fully understand what the ideas are to be able to then transform them into something really simple and visual.
Yeah. And I always say to people, the art of simplicity is one of the most difficult things you can do. Making something simple is so hard.
Yeah, there's that quote, isn't there? If I had more time, I'd have written a shorter letter.
Yeah. Yes.
It's so true.
Yes. It's so true. It's so true. And I've just been through the process of writing and launching my first book. The process of getting the words down was more difficult than getting the words to a certain level. You know, it was actually quite easy to write 50,000 words. Not easy, but the process of getting it to less than 50,000 words was way, way harder. Way harder.
I can imagine.
Especially with somebody like me, I'm quite verbose. There's lots of words that don't need to be there. So this simplicity thing, this whittling thing, this wrangling thing, you're going to give me some help there, I think, in the advice of how do you actually take some of these things. And I love the idea of like wrangling with it and working out which is the right thing, and then really, really whittling it down. And all I just sit here and imagine like somebody with a little bit of, you know, carving a bit of wood, trying to whittle out exactly what it's supposed to be. And they say that about sculpture, don't they? It's not, you just have to chip away at the marble until the thing is revealed. It's more like that, isn't it? It's chipping away at the bits you don't need.
Yeah, I remember some feedback I had from a university lecturer, actually, when I handed in some coursework. They said sometimes you have to, it's a horrible phrase, but kill your babies. So even like, I know it's awful.
Yeah, awful.
The good points sometimes don't make it if you don't have kind of room to expand on them. So it's better to focus on the few really good, strong points and kind of focus more attention on them. But you just don't have enough space or time to do everything. So make the best of less.
And you know, there's 100 different podcasts I want to listen to, and there's so many different people I want to learn from, but you can't learn fully from every single one of them. And maybe this is a great way of learning a bit from a lot of people and then diving into the ones that really interest us.
Yeah, definitely. I love that.
I'm also really interested because I'm kind of going full circle now. So you started this process of sketchnoting as something to help you with your personal development, and now you're doing it as a side hustle. We'll call it that, our freelance opportunity, whatever it is we call it. But you're then doubling up, aren't you? In my head, you are getting two for the price of one, because you're running your side hustle, but you're also, I imagine, by doing it, still learning two things. You're learning about whatever content it is you're working through, and every time you do one, you're probably perfecting your skill again. So it's like a 3 for the price of 1.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really lucky to have clients at the minute that have written some brilliant books, and I'm learning so much just from going through them, but then actually sketchnoting them and taking the work. I'm learning new skills, new ideas all the time that I can then apply to my full-time job and share with others as well. So yeah, I feel really lucky that I'm getting to experience myself and immerse myself in all of this kind of creative ideas sharing kind of world.
Yeah, I
Sounds
love it.
true.
What a great thing to have kind of discovered and fallen upon.
I must admit, I've sketchnoted a book recently by Penny Pullen, and she talks a lot about visuals and workshop facilitation, and I found that really interesting for my own work. And obviously, our Desi are consultants as well, and do a lot of workshops, and I feel like it's good for everyone, and these ideas are kind of bouncing around, and yeah, I feel really grateful for being able to experience all these ideas and implement them for myself and for others.
Yeah, and I love that your organization as well is fully supportive of you doing the side hustle freelance work, and they're obviously smart enough to see and to understand that it's good for you personally, but it's also good for the business, because everything you learn on that side you're bringing back in. So it's not oh, they're off doing something else, it's they're off learning new things that are going to come back and support the business, because you as a better informed, developed, trained, etc. individual is going to be better for their business.
Yeah, 100%. I think at the end of the day, it's about investing in your people and trusting your people and having them fully engaged, because it's people that do the work. I mean, if they're all rounders and happy and learning new things and trying new skills, you're going to have better engaged staff and greater staff satisfaction, and more likely to stay with their Desi, because they are giving me kind of the best of both worlds. Yeah, I've got no intention of leaving anytime soon, definitely.
So it's really complementary and it works really well. And you say that, I mean, obviously it is simple, like look after your people and they'll look after your business. But there are lots of organizations who don't have that level of trust and aren't able to allow this kind of thing to happen. And it's great. It's so great to hear examples of organizations that are really getting that bit right and are doing great things for people. So well done to your organization there. I think they're doing a great job. I've got a question for you, and it's probably one that is on many people's minds right now, which is, if people who are listening want to go and start this, where would they start? What would you recommend as a good starting point? Some advice, some guidance, or just something that they could go and do?
So for sketchnoting in particular, so I think have a look at some other sketch notes. I've got quite a lot on my website and social media. I think just having a go yourself. Maybe take a book you're reading or a podcast you're listening to, maybe this one, and just have a go at summarizing it for yourself. So jotting down the key points, then illustrating it, and just have a play around and see what kind of style works for you. It doesn't have to be polished particularly or imitating anyone else's. Just have a go at your own kind of style, and share your work as well. Show other people, because then you kind of get the confidence to have a go again and keep practicing. And it's nice to get some feedback and engagement around your work, and it starts conversations around kind of interesting ideas. And yeah, you never know where it'll take you. You might be a sketchnote artist in disguise.
Exactly. You just never know. You might be brilliant at this.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that people can start, because I know I've done it just this way, with a pencil and a piece of paper. It doesn't have to, you don't need fancy technology or anything to do a basic sketch note.
No, just pen and paper's fine. I do tend to use Adobe Illustrator for my second draft. You can also use Procreate on the iPads, but pen and paper is more than fine. Or get your marker pens out and whiteboards, whatever works for you.
Yeah. Oh, give me permission to get my fancy pens out is always a good thing for me. Sam, it's so interesting talking to you, and I think we could dive even deeper in. But what I'm going to do now is to move us on to the quick fire questions. Are you ready?
Yes, looking forward to it.
Okay, right. Oh, I love that. That was a really positive response. Most people are like, yeah, I think so. You're like, yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Like, let's do it. Right. So question 1, for you personally, Sam, what is always guaranteed to bring you a little bit of work joy?
A really obscure creative brief.
Can you give us an example?
I get quite a lot of these from Rhiannon at Adesi. I'm sure she won't mind me saying that. A really good example. Just being able to, can you rebrand Adesi? That was a really unusual brief, but I had complete freedom to do whatever I wanted. Within reason, obviously. But I loved it. It touched on so many different aspects as well, from brand guidelines to building the new website and updating social media and introducing my illustrations. Yeah, I had a great time.
So almost really that, here's the brief, but you're free to go make it happen.
Yeah. I think that's where the best work comes from, just having that freedom to try new things. And if you have an idea of what you want in mind, you don't get that creativity. So it's best just to explore.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, so exciting. Question 2, and I might reword this. I'll say the proper one first and I might reword it. What book are you currently reading? But you're probably not reading it. You're probably sketchnoting it, aren't you?
I must admit, the one I'm reading right now is Art Matters by Neil Gaiman, and it's illustrated by Chris Riddell. And I love it. It's so easy to just keep coming back to for inspiration. You don't even have to be reading it. You just need to flick through the pages, and it's really really cool. So that's almost like a sketch note in that it's illustrated words. So it's like illustrated quotes, sort of. But that's really cool. I'd check it out definitely if
I've not seen that one. So that's going to end up on my list of many, many books that come here and I don't have time to read, but I'm going to give it a go. Love it.
Nice thoughts, that one.
Question 3 is, what's the best or most useful bit of advice that someone has given you in your life that you always find yourself coming back to?
If you don't ask, you don't get. I think I was quite a timid child. So I was always being pushed by my mum to go and do things, and I'd always sort of rebel. But now that I'm older, I find that you only get things by asking and connecting with other people. So by putting yourself out there and just kind of asking for new opportunities, you'd be surprised what you get back.
Yeah, so true. And so often people don't know what you want unless you tell them. They're not mind readers.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for something, you need to be clear about what it is that you want. Great bit of advice there. And then what is one super practical bit of advice to our listeners that's something that they could go and do now, do tomorrow, do the next day that you think might help bring them a little bit of work joy?
So I'd suggest reflecting on your day and then sketchnoting it. So I think the reflection is kind of a good way to kind of assess what you want to do more of and what you want to do less of in your day. And then that kind of sketchnoting it, it's the idea of clarifying your thoughts again. But honestly, just drawing brings me joy. So hopefully it brings you joy too.
Yeah, I love that. And if you are somebody who maybe isn't so into the journaling or needs something that might help them a little bit, I always recommend that people reflect on the day and just maybe think about one thing that brought them joy that day. That is a good enough thing to do. But actually sketchnoting it or just drawing something. And I think just that thing, it doesn't have to be a beautiful, perfect artistic drawing. The process of drawing is quite a fun one anyway. So just do it. Give it a go. I might try that. I'm going to try that for the next week. I'm going to give it a go. Drawing something. My drawings are definitely on the dodgy side, but you might get what they are eventually. Right. Thank you so much for that bit of advice. It's brilliant. And then finally, where can people find out more about you and your work, Sam?
So I've got a website, samwarburtoncontentcreator.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, Instagram and TikTok if you search for Sam Warburton Content Creator. I've also got a newsletter called The Creative Tea Break. So that's 3 practical tips for boosting your professional creativity. And that's just a weekly newsletter on a Thursday. You can find the link on my website and socials. Please join.
We will put all those links into the show notes so that people can go directly through to see you and all of your work. Well, Sam, it's been brilliant talking to you. I do feel inspired to get back on the pens and kind of start maybe making a few more notes in this way. And for me, really think about those kind of wrangling and the whittling and how do I build those more into the creative processes that I'm working through. So a huge thank you for being a guest.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
A huge thank you to Sam Warburton for joining me on the WorkJoy Jam today. There's so much to take away from Sam's creative process, but for me, it's really thinking about those wrangling of lots of information and the whittling it down and what are the most important things that we want people to know. It's something that I really want to work on, and I'm going to really think about that over the next week or so. And I am definitely going to use that reflecting at the end of the day and maybe drawing a little note about my reflections rather than thinking about it in words. I might think about it in pictures. I do hope that you have taken away something from Sam's conversation, whether that's about having a great balance between your freelance work and your employed work and having those things, that relationship being such a positive on both angles. What a great thing to have. Whether it's about the creative process, whether you're going to start doing a little sketch note, I'd love you to tell us what are you doing as a result of this, because action is where we often find the joy. Do remember that we have lots of episodes of the WorkJoy Jam from all different kinds of angles, different experts, different people sharing their stories. You can go and listen to them on your favourite podcast app. Just search for the WorkJoy Jam. Do remember to subscribe so you get all the latest episodes downloaded for you. And make sure you give us a review. That can really help get these podcasts into the ears of the right people. We also have the WorkJoy Club WorkJoy, available for people who are really wanting to make a difference in their working lives. Do come and have a little look at that. createworkjoy.com. You can find out all the information. And of course, WorkJoy, a toolkit for a better working life. My debut book is available right now. Thank you so much for listening. I can't wait to see you on the next version.